Have you ever felt a connection to a face on a screen? A character from your childhood who felt less like an actor and more like a friend you actually knew? We carry these figures with us, frozen in time on worn-out VHS tapes and in the hazy, golden-lit corners of our memory. They represent a part of our own past, a time of innocence, of adventure, of believing that monsters were real and that a group of determined kids could save the world. These cinematic friendships feel deeply personal, a secret pact between us and the flickering image on the screen. But what happens when the credits roll and the actor behind that cherished face grows up? The magic of filmmaking lies in its ability to create an illusion of permanence, but the lives of those involved are anything but static. What happens when their story takes a turn no one expected, a turn away from the spotlight and into the quiet, ordinary, and sometimes heartbreaking reality of everyday life? This is a story about one of those faces, a story about a boy who, for a fleeting moment, was a hero to an entire generation of movie lovers. It's a story about kindness, about courage, about the immense weight of a small legacy, and about a life that burned brightly, but far, far too briefly. This is the story of Brent Chalem. To understand Brent's story, you first have to transport yourself back in time. Picture the late 1970s and early 80s in America. It was a unique cultural moment, a transitional period between the analog past and the digital future. Suburbia was expanding, and with it, a new kind of childhood was being defined. It was the era of the latchkey kid, of newfound freedom where children explored their neighborhoods on BMX bikes until the streetlights flickered on, their imaginations fueled by Saturday morning cartoons, sugary cereals, and a burgeoning new medium, the home video rental. Beneath the vibrant, neon-colored surface of the decade, however, lay a current of anxiety. The Cold War was in its final tense chapter, and a stranger danger panic was sweeping the nation. These fears created a world where children were often told to be cautious, to be wary. Perhaps that is why the cinema of the era was so powerful. It offered an escape, a fantasy where kids weren't victims, but protagonists who took control of their own destinies. Hollywood was undergoing its own transformation. Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment had cast a long, magical shadow over the industry. Films like E.T. the Extraterrestrial and The Goonies had perfected a powerful new formula, stories centered on ordinary, often outcast, kids who find themselves thrust into extraordinary circumstances. These weren't tales of flawless superheroes. They were about kids who were awkward, who bickered, who had crushes, and who, when faced with true danger, found a strength they never knew they possessed. The audience didn't just watch these characters, they were these characters. This cinematic movement was also a celebration of practical effects. Before the age of CGI, monsters were tangible creations of latex and mechanics, brought to life by artists in legendary workshops like that of Stan Winston. They were physically present on set, allowing the young actors to react to something real, something terrifyingly and wonderfully concrete. It was into this fertile, imaginative landscape that Brent Chalem was born on February 7, 1975 in Westlake Village, California. From an early age, it was clear that Brent had a special quality. He possessed a natural charisma, an endearing cherubic face, and an ability to light up a room or a casting call. Like many aspiring young talents in Los Angeles, his journey began in the world of television commercials. It was a rite of passage, a training ground where he learned to hit his marks, deliver his lines, and connect with an audience through the unblinking eye of a camera lens. The life of a child commercial actor is a demanding one, a whirlwind of auditions where rejection is the norm, and one's value can feel tied to being perpetually cute and camera ready. Yet Brent navigated this world with an easy charm. He became a familiar face in American living rooms, most notably appearing in a heartwarming ad for Campbell's Soup. He was the quintessential all-American kid, wholesome, relatable, and with a spark of mischievous fun in his eyes. These early gigs were more than just jobs. They were the foundation of a promising career, building a quiet momentum that was about to collide with a project that would change his life forever. In 1986, a script was circulating in Hollywood that was both a loving homage and a clever subversion of a classic genre. Written by a young, fiercely talented Shane Black, who was simultaneously writing his script for Lethal Weapon, and his college friend Fred Decker, The Monster Squad was a heartfelt love letter to the universal monsters of the 1930s and 40s: Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and the creature from the Black Lagoon. Black's signature style was already evident: razor-sharp, witty dialogue that felt authentic, even when spoken by 10-year-olds. The script didn't talk down to kids. It captured their crude, funny, and sometimes profound way of speaking. But this time, the story would be told from the perspective of the kids who loved them most. It was a perfect blend of the era's kids on an adventure trope with genuine horror elements. The project needed a very specific group of young actors who felt authentic, who could trade witty, often profane dialogue like real friends, and who could carry the film's unique blend of humor, heart, and horror. The casting call went out, and among the hundreds of hopefuls who auditioned was a 10-year-old Brent Chalem. He was vying for the role of Horace, a character described in the script as overweight and often the butt of his friends' jokes, but also the group's most knowledgeable and sensitive member. The name itself, Horace, felt deliberately old-fashioned, setting him apart from the Seans and Rudys of the world. Fred Decker, the director, later recalled that what set Brent apart wasn't just his look, but his spirit. In the high-pressure environment of a casting room, Brent projected a genuine vulnerability. He didn't just read the lines, he inhabited the character's insecurity and his deep desire for friendship. He had an innate sweetness that felt perfect for Horace. He wasn't just playing a part, he was Horace. He embodied the character's gentle nature, his quiet intelligence, and the underlying sadness of a kid who just wanted to belong. On set, the young cast, including Andre Gower as the leader Sean, Ryan Lambert as the cool rebel Rudy, and Ashley Bank as Sean's little sister Phoebe, formed an incredibly tight bond. By all accounts, the production felt less like work and more like the greatest summer camp adventure imaginable. The boys would pull pranks, explore the studio backlots, and forge the kind of intense friendships that can only happen during the strange, magical bubble of a film shoot. And at the center of this group was Brent. His castmates remember him not as a shy, withdrawn kid, but as a funny, bright, and incredibly kind presence. Ryan Lambert recalled in later interviews how Brent was always quick with a joke, a genuinely happy kid who loved being there. He was the heart of their real-life monster squad. This camaraderie was essential, especially when faced with the awe-inspiring creations from Stan Winston's studio. When Tom Noonan, towering and silent in his full Frankenstein's monster makeup, first walked on set, the effect on the kids was electric. They were reacting to a real breathing monster, and their friendships became their anchor in this world of fantastical horror. This warmth translated directly to the screen. As Horace, Brent delivered a performance of remarkable depth. While the other kids teased him with the nickname Fat Kid, a moniker that admittedly feels harsh to modern ears, Brent played the role with a dignity that subverted the stereotype. In the landscape of 80s cinema, the fat kid was often a one-note character, there for comic relief like Chunk in The Goonies. But Horace was different. He wasn't just comedic relief. He was the one who knew the lore, who understood the monster's weaknesses from his obsessive reading of monster magazines. He was often the voice of reason and caution. Through Brent's portrayal, the audience felt Horace's longing for acceptance. We see it in the way his face falls when Rudy initially dismisses him, and we see the pure joy in his eyes when he's finally welcomed into the group and given a critical task. He was the brains and the heart of the operation. And then there is the scene, the moment that elevated Horace from a supporting character to a certified cinematic legend. Cornered by the terrifying Gillman, the creature from the Black Lagoon, Horace is alone and vulnerable. For a moment, fear paralyzes him. The audience holds its breath, expecting him to be another victim. But then, something shifts. Fueled by terror, loyalty, and a surge of pure adrenaline, he lets out a primal scream of defiance. He grabs a shotgun, fires a desperate shot, and when the monster recoils, he delivers one of the most iconic, cheer-worthy lines in 80s movie history. Wolfman's got nards. It was more than just a funny line. It was a declaration. It was the moment the bullied kid fought back, the moment the underdog found his roar. It was a perfectly written Shane Black moment, delivered with raw, unvarnished conviction by Brent. In that single, explosive act of courage, Horace became the hero of the story, and Brent Chalem became a hero to every kid in the audience who had ever felt underestimated. The Monster Squad was released in the summer of 1987. Despite its killer premise and perfect execution, the film was a box office disappointment. The marketing campaign was a disaster. The studio, TriStar Pictures, seemed utterly baffled by what they had. Was it a kids' movie? A horror movie? A comedy? The poster art was uninspired, and the trailer failed to capture the film's unique tone. It was poorly marketed and had to compete with other bigger blockbusters like RoboCop and The Lost Boys. For the cast and crew, it was a crushing blow. The magical adventure they had shared seemed destined to fade into obscurity. But then, something remarkable happened, driven by the VCR revolution. As the film made its way to home video and late-night cable television, particularly HBO, it found its audience. Kids discovered it in the aisles of Blockbuster Video, passing tapes around like a secret handshake. It became a slumber party staple, a movie that felt like it was made for them, not just marketed to them. A cult classic was born, not in the theaters but in the living rooms of its most devoted fans. For Brent, however, the path forward wasn't as clear. The life of a child actor is notoriously precarious. Fame is fleeting, and the transition from a cute kid to a working teenage actor is a difficult one. After the initial fizzle of the Monster Squad, his career continued, but in a more sporadic fashion. He landed guest spots on some of the decade's most popular television shows. In 1988, he appeared in an episode of the beloved sitcom Punky Brewster, followed by a role in Mr. Belvedere in 1989. These were solid credits keeping him in the industry, but they didn't capture the unique lightning-in-a-bottle magic of his role as Horace. He was working, but the industry that had once embraced him as the perfect kid next door was now struggling to see where he fit as a teenager. Perhaps his most interesting post-Squad role came in 1991 in an episode of the critically acclaimed sci-fi series Quantum Leap. In the episode titled The Wrong Stuff, Brent played a character known as Bat Boy. It was a quirky, offbeat part, a departure from the sweet-natured kid archetype. It hinted at a wider acting range, a potential for more eccentric character work as he grew older. Yet it also hinted at a potential pitfall: typecasting. Was Hollywood only seeing him for outsider or unusual roles now? His final credited role was in a 1992 action comedy film called Double Trouble, starring the bodybuilding duo, the Barbarian Brothers. It was a minor part in a forgettable film. After that, the roles seemed to dry up, or perhaps a different kind of life began to call his name. By the early 1990s, Brent Chalem made a conscious decision to step away from the unpredictable world of acting. It's a crossroads that many former child stars face. Do you continue to chase the dream, navigating the brutal landscape of auditions and rejection, or do you seek a different kind of fulfillment? The child actor curse is a well-documented phenomenon, a trail of burnout, financial trouble, and personal struggles. Brent chose the latter path, a path of self-preservation. He enrolled at Chatsworth High School, re-immersing himself in the rhythms of a normal teenage life, classes, friendships, planning for a future that didn't involve a script or a soundstage. There must have been a complex mix of relief and difficulty in this transition. To leave behind a world where you were once celebrated, where your face was on a movie poster, and to simply become another student in the hallway requires a certain kind of humility and strength. After graduating, he decided to pursue a career that was about as far from Hollywood as one could get. He began studying to become a paralegal, a profession that required meticulous attention to detail, a sharp intellect, and a deep understanding of logic and the law. Think about the contrast. Acting is subjective, emotional, and chaotic. Law is objective, logical, and ordered. It was a choice that spoke to a desire for stability, for a tangible and respectable career path, for a sense of control over his own life that the entertainment industry rarely affords. He eventually moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, a city known for its glitz and spectacle, but for Brent, it was a place to build a new, quiet life. He secured a job at a law firm, applying the skills he had learned. He was no longer Horace, the monster-fighting kid. He was Brent Chalem, a young professional, a man forging his own identity, separate from the character that had defined his childhood. He was, by all accounts, doing well. He was carving out a future, stepping into adulthood with purpose and direction. The Hollywood chapter of his life seemed to be a fond but distant memory. He was writing his own second act, on his own terms. Life is a fragile and unpredictable thing. Just when it seems a story is reaching its second act, the narrative can be cut short with a devastating finality. In the winter of 1997, Brent fell ill. It began as a respiratory issue, the kind that most young, healthy people would fight off without issue. But for Brent, it progressed rapidly and severely. On December 9th, 1997, Brent Chalem died from complications of pneumonia. He was only 22 years old. The news was a profound shock to everyone who knew him. For his family, it was an unimaginable loss. For his childhood friends from the set of the Monster Squad, it was a sudden, heartbreaking reminder of their shared past and the cruel randomness of fate. They had all gone on to live their lives, but their bond, forged in that magical summer of 1986, remained. The news of Brent's passing was a blow that reverberated through their small, unique fraternity. Andre Gower, Ryan Lambert, and the others were left to mourn the loss of their friend, the kind, funny kid who had been the heart of their group. They had become men, but in that moment of grief, they were boys again, mourning a member of their squad. For the fans of the Monster Squad, who were only just beginning to truly appreciate the film's genius through its growing cult status, the news was surreal. How could the brave kid who faced down the Gill Man be gone? It felt wrong. He was supposed to be immortal, forever preserved on film as a 10-year-old hero. His death added a layer of profound poignancy to the film. Watching it now, knowing his fate, Horace's character takes on a new weight. His vulnerability feels more real, his moments of triumph more precious, his final wave to the camera more like a final goodbye. The tragic irony was not lost on anyone. The boy who battled fictional monsters had been taken by a microscopic, all too real one. In the years since Brent's death, the legacy of the Monster Squad has only grown. It is now celebrated as one of the quintessential films of its era. A critically acclaimed documentary, Wolfman's Got Nards, was made about the film's enduring impact, chronicling its journey from box office bomb to beloved classic. At fan conventions and anniversary screenings across the world, the cast reunites to share stories and celebrate the movie that changed their lives. At every one of these events, his castmates ensure his memory is honored, sharing stories of his kindness that keep his spirit a vital part of the celebration. The empty chair on the stage at their panels is not just an absence, it's a presence. It's a powerful silent tribute to the friend they lost too soon, a visible reminder of the human element behind the movie magic, the boy who was and always will be a vital member of their squad. It stands as a testament to the profound and lasting impact he had on their lives, not just as a co-star, but as a friend. So why does this story, the story of a young actor with only a handful of credits to his name, matter so much? It matters because Brent Chalem's legacy isn't measured in the length of his filmography, but in the depth of his impact. In one perfect, heartfelt performance, he created a character that was an avatar for every kid who ever felt like an outsider. Horace was a hero not in spite of his perceived flaws, but because of them. His courage was born from his vulnerability. His strength was found in his loyalty and his good heart. He taught us that you don't have to be the coolest, the strongest, or the most popular kid to be a hero. You just have to be brave enough to stand up and fight for your friends when it matters most. His story also serves as a poignant commentary on the nature of childhood stardom, the immense pressure, the difficult transitions, and the courage it takes to walk away and define oneself on new terms. The story of Brent Chalem is a bittersweet tapestry. It's a celebration of a cherished piece of cinema and a lament for a life unlived. It's a reminder that behind every face on the screen, there is a real person with their own dreams, their own struggles, and their own story that continues long after the cameras stop rolling. Brent stepped away from the spotlight to find his own path, to write his own next chapter, only to have the book closed far too soon. His second act, the one he chose for himself in the world of Law and Order, was just beginning. But perhaps in a way he achieved a different kind of immortality. He is forever 10 years old in a clubhouse with his best friends, about to embark on the greatest adventure of their lives. He is forever brave, forever defiant, forever a hero. His time with us was brief, but the light he brought to the screen and the joy he gave to so many continues to shine. And for that, we can all be grateful. He was a member of the squad, our squad, and his legacy, like the film he helped make so special, will never be forgotten.